Are you considering selling your home? Well, in this video, I want to go over 5 things that a home seller might not want to give too much weight to when considering listing their house. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why don't I want to fix certain items before selling my house? And my question to you is a lot of the times when a seller does improvements to a property, the expected ROI on said improvements, I promise you, are never 100%. But secondly, sometimes when you make a choice on what you want in your home, it's not going to match what the next buyer wants in their home. As a real estate professional, I'd hate to think how many times I've watched sellers spend large chunks of money on updates that buyers don't necessarily care about and ignore the smaller items that actually matter. If you're getting ready to list, here are 5 things that you usually should not fix before selling your home. So let's jump right into this. And item number 1 is cosmetic taste. What do I mean by taste? I mean, from a seller standpoint, what is your taste in your property does not matter what your buyer's taste is. So when you go in and you're doing these remodels that are suggested, such as new light fixtures, maybe it's painting colors, maybe it's upgrading flooring. Here's the thing. If the buyer didn't pick out those particular tastes themselves, which person are you appealing to? You as the seller or them as the buyer? Let's focus on skipping some things here. We don't need to be doing anything that's going to be taste oriented for you as the seller. So, one of the big ones, and this is a really big one, is an outdated kitchen. Let's say you wanted to DIY it and paint it white. Well, I hate to break it to you, but the new trend, white's on its way out. But on the flip side of that, what does the buyer want out of that? Secondly, paint colors. Your taste, I promise, is not the same as the person buying. And lastly, but not least, people that do accent walls. That main color may be perfect through the whole living room, but you throw that one accent wall in there and it completely threw off everything. Remember, buyers are emotional. They have to emotionally attach themselves to the property. So if you do things that make it new, they can't emotionally attach if it's not for them. And secondly, do they want to do an upgrade on something that just got upgraded? So instead of doing that part of the upgrade, paint, flooring, blah, 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 here's what I would suggest. You've got to declutter. You've got to deep clean. Try to keep everything in the house neutral. This allows buyers to picture themselves in the property rather than paying for your taste. So, number 2, and I see this very regularly, more so in one area than the other, is a big remodel that has not 100% return. So, as a homeowner, what do you expect to get out of that remodel? And what are those big remodels? So, the big one's going to be a kitchen or bathroom. And then last but not least is going to be a flooring upgrade. Typically, you're seeing luxury tile or luxury vinyl plank. Dilemma with all of this. I want to go back to 1, which is the taste, but 2, in reality, your return on investment of those particular items on a good day is 70, possibly 80% on the kitchen. Flooring will never get you that. But on a good day, 70 to 80%. So if I told you that I can guarantee you, even on the best of days, 80 cents of every dollar you just paid to have something remodeled, is that a good investment for you as a seller? Or are you better off doing smaller upgrades? Let's go back to that kitchen. Instead of gutting it, maybe you just add new hardware. Maybe you cut out the old caulk and recaulk it where it's starting to pull away from the backsplash or the walls. Maybe you update that faucet, give it that updating feel without updating your wallet. Does that make sense? And that's what I want for you as a seller, is to be top of market, but not be top of budget. Item number 3, and this comes up very regularly because with where I live, you either have what I'm going to call mid-century and older, or you've got a lot of new construction. and it's replacing old but yet working systems. Now, what do I mean by your systems? Your furnace, air conditioner, water heater, and roof. Your four most expensive assets in the house, or we could say liabilities in this case. The only thing that would keep up with them is a kitchen. Now, if these items are all still functioning before you list, is it necessary for you to update them? The answer's no. And I say it's no because I would much rather, from a seller standpoint, and me as your realtor, talk you into negotiations. And what do those negotiations look like? I would rather you either give a credit for said replacement or a home warranty or possibly both. Because at the end of the day, to replace all four of those items on a typical home, you're probably looking at $30,000 to $40,000, where most of the time you're able to negotiate somewhere between 5 and 15. A home warranty is less than $1,000 in my area. Now, why are these negotiations so important? Not only from a seller standpoint of saving money, but from a buyer standpoint. Well, from a buyer standpoint, they want the flexibility of negotiating not necessarily the price tag of the home, but the price hike of the house that they didn't request to have the maintenance done. So let's say it is the roof, and let's say you meet in the middle. You could only be spending $5,000 to $8,000 on a roof instead of replacing the whole thing, when in actuality, the longevity of the roof might still be there. It's just aesthetically not appealing. If you've hung around this long, I'd like you to know that if you could subscribe and comment, I would greatly appreciate it. I'd love to talk to you one-on-one about what it might look like about selling your property, and also possibly what it looks like moving forward with a purchase. So if you're finding value out of this content, please subscribe, follow, and leave a comment down below. I'd greatly appreciate it. So item number 4 that I want to discuss are concrete areas, from patios to sidewalks to driveways. For the common buyer, these aren't going to be red flag areas, as long as everything blends in. The next thing I'm going to say is, if you have brand new concrete adjoining to old concrete, it can do one of two things. Either the buyer's still not going to notice it and care, but it can also be a red flag for potentially an appraiser as to why did you fix part and not all. My recommendation is you wait until your negotiations of your sale. If they try to negotiate it in, you fix it. And that fix could either be a repair or replace, or it could be as simple as a caulking. And at the end of the day, you're giving the buyer that satisfaction to either A, negotiate it in, or you're already not removing a negotiation piece from your transaction. So item number 5, and this one gets me all the time because I see it regularly, and that is, you never bring an old home up to the current modern day code. So if you take a house that's 20, 30 years old, and you're going to expect a seller, you, to bring it up to modern day code of 2026 now, what does that honestly look like? How many tens of thousands of dollars are you going to spend? And primarily the code shift is going to be in electrical, as well as potential trim work on the outside of the house. But my recommendation is if it's not a safety hazard, or you don't have any electrical leaks, and potentially exposed or open junction boxes with electrical, then I'd leave it alone. Because when you rip that Band-Aid off to start bringing it up to code, you just opened an entire can of worms on where does the code start and where does the code stop. You're openly inviting, typically, your city administration into your home to dictate what you have to do before you can sell the property. So this might lead you to the question of, what are buyers actually paying for? And in today's real estate market, buyers actually care the most about location, about the layout and square footage. How clean, bright, airy is the property? And are there any big ticket items that are a must to repair before I can move in? So in closing, and for final thoughts, before you look at spending a dime, get a professional opinion. And you'd be surprised that a $500 to $1,000 fix might increase the value of your house by 5 to 10,000. Whereas that $20,000 to $30,000 remodel, you're going to be lucky if you break even in total transparency. So if you're thinking about selling in the Des Moines metro area, by all means, I'm happy to help. Reach out free of charge. I'll walk through a property with you, see what options you might have, and probably even have a network that's willing to help you if you're not a DIYer to work on getting you the most bang for your buck in order for you to move forward. If you found this content exhilarating like I have, or at least educational, please like and subscribe. I'd love to continue updating you on what the real estate market here in Des Moines, Iowa looks like and the things to do and not to do when looking to buy or sell your next home.